The special session going on. This session is exclusively only about Senate 386 bill passed. As you may already know that people have been advocating for the Senate 386 bill for a long period of time. It was been on hold due to many senators putting in hold, starting with Senator Rand Paul, Dick Durbin, the Georgia senator, then it moves to Florida senators, and finally all the holds are out. It's been passed in the Senate. That's a good news. Now, does this mean the battle is over, Emily? I mean, does it mean the battle is over?
Not yet.
I think so. The battle is over, but not the war.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, for this to be effective, Emily, that means that where priority dates can move, is there any other, what are the other steps that need to be done?
Yeah, because the Senate version of the bill is different than what the House passed last July, we have to get the two bills to agree with each other. So either the House has to vote again on the new Senate bill, or the House and the Senate have to form a conference and try to negotiate all of the provisions and come up with a new bill that everybody's happy with. And we have a very short period of time for that to happen. I was trying to figure out, we have a new Congress that is going to start January 3rd. That's when the new Congress session begins. And looking at the congressional calendar, it looks like December 10th is the last date they've got votes scheduled for. So we've got a very short window, but I do think it's incredibly possible to get it done. We see immigration stuff happen in these lame duck sessions overnight. Passing the Senate. I mean, no one was really prepared for that to pass yesterday, and all of a sudden at the end of the day, there it is. So I think the House could easily do the same.
So even if the lame duck session is not over, Emily, and then we are going to go into January 20th, the next Congress, the House, is the same thing which passed this bill in the beginning. So nothing much has changed in the House. The Speaker has not changed. So things should move through if it doesn't go through the lame duck session too. Is that right, Emily?
Yeah, just they have to start over.
Yeah.
And who knows what new provisions they'll try to add when we have a new president who probably wants comprehensive immigration reform. Maybe they'll put this aside and do a whole reform, which always gets stuck. But
a lot of people are asking this question: does this benefit us? Absolutely, it does benefit you guys. Does this remove the discrimination completely? It may not have been removing the discrimination completely, but this is removing to a certain extent the discrimination that has been faced. So when you're contacting the Congress people that this bill, please support this in the House right now. The senators are down, go to the House, that is the House of Representatives. We call them as congressmen, contact them to support this bill so that it gets out of the House and it becomes law. It may have some deficiencies. We're not telling that it's completely the best thing that we can ever get it, but I've been advocating for this from 1995 onwards. We were able to get some previously where the wastage of the green cards were being given to the people who are overusing it. But this is another bill that is come out in 2020 after about 17 years. It still is much better than what we wanted, but please support for this bill. Emily, now, a lot of people are asking this question that right now is entire 7% of the 7% per country quota is removed, or what are the conditions in it?
Yeah.
I know you have a laundry list of conditions that you put it on there. Let's dissect to one at a time. Do you think so? Because I want to first, do you think so that this will improve the priority date backlog for Indian nationals?
Yes.
Do you out of the 140,000, how much do you think so will go to Indian nationals in the next 1 to 3 years?
Well, the bill itself doesn't take effect until the second fiscal year after it's effective. So whether that is October 2021 or October 2022, I'm really not sure what they intended there. So nothing's going to happen in the near future.
Okay.
From there, we've got all these different visas reserved for different types of people. But it looks like 70% should go to India
Okay.
Over
So
the
out of
next 10
100
years.
This is when Emily is saying that approximately 70%. There are a lot of loopholes in it. There are a lot of things in there. This bill was just passed yesterday evening, and believe us, it is not that lengthy bill, but it is so confusing on the bill though. So the numbers that we are estimating might change a little bit. Based on my interpretation, this bill is becoming effective on October 1st of 2021. So there is a possibility USCIS may, because of the backlog of the things, they may even move the priority date. We don't know. If they don't move the priority date for a filing section, for sure we know that once the bill goes through the House and gets signed by the President, from October 1st of 2021, that's my estimate, the way I read the bill, is that will be effective. So things will definitely move for Indian nationals. We are expecting, based on the study, that 70% will go to the countries that are backlogged very much, which seems to be the Indian nationals at the most. But guys, when you are contacting a congressman, don't tell that it's favoring Indians though. It technically is not favoring. All it is doing is, it is taking the discrimination off. When you take the discrimination off, it doesn't mean that it's favoring Indians. So please, when you contact the congressman, don't use the word it's favoring Indians. Just use the word it's taking the discrimination off. Now, Emily, where did you come with the 70% thing though? Why not? Because all the people who are backlogged, everybody's in line. Why only 70% can go to Indians?
Yeah, there's
at a maximum that you
yeah,
said.
they actually set caps on that to allow. So there's certain visas or immigrant visas that are designated or reserved for the rest of the world, for those countries that are not the highest users. And each year, the amount of those visas that are reserved for other countries reduces. But at the same time, they've got other reservations for
Schedule A?
Schedule A, so the physical therapists and registered nurses have 4,400 green cards set aside from EB3 that should be available, which is good news for them. And we also have a weird provision that restricts the amount of visas, immigrant visas, that can go to H-1B and H-4 holders to 70%. And then after 10 years, it goes down to 50%. So I think all of that combined, you know, it's practically impossible to calculate how many will go to the country. But
there are so many reservations.
Yes.
One is that there's a 90% right now, and 10% will go to the normal people. 90% will be going there. That is for general all population. Then you have only 70% can be given to the H-1Bs and H-4 holders. So rest of the 30% can be going to, should be going to Ls or other visas. And then there is a reservation of 4,400 in EB3 category for the physical therapists and nurses. So all these things combination is where you are coming with a 70% figure though. Okay. And based on the Cato Institute, there are about 700,000 people waiting in the priority date for a waiting list, waiting for the green card to come in. So if we were to go with that, 700,000, including the family members though. So we may expect the priority dates to probably be moving pretty fast though in the next 2 to 3 years in this. So what do you expect in 2021 October the priority date will be?
there's no way to answer that. I'm not even going to try.
Okay, well, let's take some guess. I'm estimating that especially in 2021, the filing date chart should move between 2016 and 2018.
Well, let me say this. I think the filing date chart becomes irrelevant.
Okay, why?
Because there's a special provision.
Okay.
I think what people now have to understand, what makes this fair across the board, is you have the process of actually being able to file the adjustment of status, which is separate from actually receiving the green card. And what this bill does is basically, after your I-140 has been approved for 2 years, everybody can file the 485,
Whoa, whoa, whoa,
regardless
whoa.
of what your priority date is.
Even if the priority date is not correct.
Exactly.
So
That's why I
once-
think the filing date chart is going to be gone.
So once the I-140 has been approved, if the people are waiting for 2 years, they can file the adjustment of status irrespective of the priority date
Correct.
and irrespective of the country.
Correct.
So practically
And
speaking
the
about...
kid's age gets locked in.
Okay, that's very good news. So practically speaking about whosoever I-140 was been approved in 2019, remember 2021 is the one it is becoming effective, they can according to my reading, it is becoming effective. Of course, you are telling that it may be 2022 or 2021. So 2019, if you have an I-140 approval, and it's been 2 years, it's 2021, you can file an adjustment of status, irrespective of the filing date,
Assuming you're still with that company.
assuming you're still with the company. Wow, that's a great news, Emily.
Right. That's why I think that trying to figure out when my priority date is going to be current is not super relevant anymore. Yes, of course, the ultimate goal, everyone wants their green card.
Green card.
Understand the importance of that. But you
But
get
for
so many
filing-
benefits of filing the 485. You get
Wow.
the AC-21, you get the EAD, you get the advanced parole. You don't need to keep extending your H1, your H4, your L2, your H4 EAD. You don't need to go for visa stamping anymore.
Wow.
And that's for the kids. So even if they turn 21, they still can continue on the parents' adjustment application.
Wow. Is
And
there any catches
there
to
is
this?
a catch to that. So one new rule regarding EADs is that you're only eligible for an EAD based on a pending 485 if you would have been authorized to work at the time you file your 485. So those that are eligible for H4 EAD, those that are eligible for L2 EAD, they're also eligible for the 485 EAD. Kids are not eligible for an H4 EAD or an L2 EAD. So this does not provide an EAD for the kids. So
I will still take it
But I
anyway.
would still take it, yeah, because the kids can then, you know, if they turn 21, they convert to F1, they stay on their F1 status, but they stay on their parents' green card application. They get their OPT, they get their own H1B, and then they get the green card.
Right.
They don't have to go through the process again.
Right.
It eliminates having the kids be in the same line with their parents that we were
Right.
just talking about a week ago.
Right, that's very good. So one thing
Even
is...
if the parent passes away.
Sorry.
I hate to say that, but
Yeah. That's good for the kids though. So the rule is that if the I-140 has been approved and it's been approved for more than 2 years, irrespective of your priority date becomes current or not, you can file the adjustment of status. What Emily is telling is that they will get rid of the filing chart completely. There's no need for filing chart because if it's been more than 2 years, you are in and you can file the adjustment of status. And then once you pass 6 months after you file the adjustment of status, then if you want to move to a different company, you can file a thing called 485J supplement. Is there any fees they put it for the 485J
yeah,
supplement?
so
Emily?
there's some new provisions there. The 485J supplement is going to cost $2,000.
Okay, I will
And-
still take it.
And you have to include it with your EAD application. So every time you renew your EAD, you have to pay that $2,000 and submit the 485J to prove you still have a bona fide job opportunity.
But the EAD is for 3 years.
Exactly.
Right, the EAD is for 3 years.
Yeah.
So what about when we initially file the application? Does it include, we have to add a $2,000 fees, Emily, when we file an EAD? Looks like
I
to
would
me.
assume, well, good question, because it does not refer specifically to the 485J supplement. It refers to confirmation of bona fide job offer, and it refers to that when you're filing the EAD and when you get your green card approval. It's not referring to it at the time of filing the 485. So I'm a little unclear.
I would still think so that the $2,000 will still be applicable because we still need the confirmation of the job offer at the time when we file the 485 application. Since we are filing the 485 application without an I-140 application, together though, we are filing a 485J supplement. Since the fees is applicable to 485J supplement, I would think so that there will be an additional fees of $2,000. And believe me guys, I may not like the fees increased a lot of time, but in this time, I would like you guys to pay the fees and file the adjustment of status. In your best interest, even if it's $2,000 every 3 years, it is worth filing it. Now, there is no $2,000 fees for the family. It's only for the main applicant.
That seems to be the case.
Because it's only the 485J supplement person who seems to be paying the $2,000. For the wife, they don't need to. There are some catches if the wife is on F1 visa or maybe H1B visa, I don't know, if they would be allowed to get an EAD. That seems to be a little bit doubtful at this point of time. For sure, we know that if they are on H4 or L2, they would get it. But if they are on the H1, if they're on F1, there are some doubts about it. Things will get a little bit more clarified as we study, as we dig in, when it passed through the House, and probably when they give more clarifications or question and answers from the USCIS, we'll get more information. This bill is passed yesterday, so it's fresh. Anything else, Emily, before we get?
Yeah, so it does come with its problems. It's got some new H-1B provisions, particularly, one area where they've been wanting to add this new provision for quite some time is having a new website where you have to post a job for 30 days before you can file the LCA. Not too difficult there. There's some new attestations, which are kind of silly, that the employer has to confirm that they have not tried to recruit only H-1B workers, which I think is pretty easy to overcome that. But the big issue with the H-1B is
the
for
50%.
The 50% rule. So for employers with more than 50 employees, if half of their workforce is in H or L status, they're not eligible to file H-1B petitions. The exception is if they're filing an extension for an employee who's working for them at the time this bill passes, or for transfers. So basically it means that companies that are already 50% can't file in the cap.
But when most of these people are filing an adjustment of status, they should be easily getting away from the 50% rule anyway.
Right.
Once they get an EAD, they can withdraw the H-1B and they can stay on the adjustment of status.
Yeah.
Even though there are some restrictions on the employer, guys, this is very good for you guys. No matter what anybody says, believe our word, please support this bill. Please contact the congressman.
And I think it's really important, I understand people that are not from the backlogged countries don't want their time frame to be longer to get the green card. I totally get that. But I think what we can help overcome that fear is to explain that, hey, look, everybody's on an even playing field regarding the 2-year rule. Everybody.
Everybody, including
even if you're from
non-Indians, rest of the world.
Where they're saying, oh no, now I'm going to have to wait when right now I don't have to, they still can file at the 2-year mark. Yes, it's going to cause it to take longer for them to actually get the green card. As this transition period goes on, the closer we get to the 10-year mark, the longer it's going to take the rest of the world to get the green card. But everybody can file after 2 years.
After 2 years of the I-140 approval, not the filing of the I-140.
Right.
So guys, you need to get your premium processing on the I-140. That's very important for you. I mean, this is the best thing that I have ever heard in the bills that I have ever seen in the past 25 years that has been passed. Yes, there are certain conditions I would rather want to be removed. I want everybody in the complete playing field. It may not be 100% satisfied. I still like it. Please support this bill. This will be very good for you guys. Let's take the questions, Emily. A lot of questions are there. Will this benefit us? Yes, it benefits. It benefits you, Faison, because you're waiting for the priority date. If you're not waiting for the priority date, you would have been coming to this conference call, to this Facebook and YouTube Live. Rishi has this question, do they still have to negotiate between the House and Senate about this one? There is a small possibility for it that it will ping pong between the Senate and the House. But at this point of time, based on the mood of the Senate and the House, we are not expecting much problems because it is by far it is by far supported by both sides of the both parties, senators and congressmen supported it. This is not increasing the number of green cards given to the employment. That's one thing a lot of people will look into it. A lot of people will, oh, it is increasing the number of green cards. No, it is not increasing. So normally, if any increase in the green card would have been there, they would have blocked it out. There is no increase. That's the reason it is. And then you may say, oh, Congress is completely divided right now, and then, president and all those things. This is a very small bill, guys. I mean, this is completely negligible bill for them. And these things pass through sometimes when there is not much opposition. And there is not much opposition on this bill. It has passed through clearly from Senate. Practically all senators supported it, unanimously passed. So all the blocks have been taken off. It's been passed, so we're good there. And House has a good support in it. So please contact the House members. We should take this bill as it is. Let's not add anything. If they add anything to the House, then it goes back to Senate, and then it just may ping pong. So let's take it. I recommend the House to take it. And I want to thank the one Congresswoman, Jo Lofgren, from California for this bill. She is the architect of it. She is the one who is behind this bill. I have to thank her first. And the other person that I want to thank is the senator, the Utah senator.
Mike Lee.
Yeah, Mike Lee. That's a senator that that guy has poured his heart and his blood on it. I don't know what that guy did. He has to go through a lot of pressure to get this bill out of the Senate. I thank Senator from the Utah.
Okay, a couple questions I've been seeing about what happens if you change companies. At what point can you change companies? So first, I would say, once your I-140 is approved, you do need to stay with that company that has the approved I-140 for 2 years before you're eligible to file the 485. If you change companies, it's unclear whether you will be able to file the 485 based on an I-140 approved with a previous company. So you've got to stay with 2 years, and then another 6 months to qualify for AC-21, which allows you to then move your green card to the new employer, as long as it's in the same or similar job category. There are new complications with that AC-21 process. The 485J is still there, but now there's a $2,000 fee. There's an additional kind of attestations from the new employer. They have to agree that they're offering the job to you as the immigrant in the same terms and conditions they would offer the same job to a U.S. worker. So as long as that is the case, then you can file that Supplement J and move to the employer basically 2.5 years after your I-140 is approved.
Watcher has this question. So the priority date moves 6 months to a year. Well, once the bill becomes effective, though, you can ignore the priority date of filing dates, because if you have an I-140 approved for more than 2 years, so most probably your priority date would have been 2019 or 2018, you can file the adjustment of status, period. Doesn't matter your priority date. So practically speaking, about this one, move automatically the priority date from almost 2011 for the EB2 to 2018 or 2019. You're speaking about to file the adjustment of status. Mr. Watcher from YouTube, it's not 6 months or 1 year. It looks like it's going to be 7 or 8 years it's going to move to file the adjustment of status. That's what, for the filing dates, expected to move between 8 to 9 years in the EB2 category, and probably up to 6 years or so in the EB3 category. So if you have an I-140 approval for 2 years, yeah, you should have been 2018 or 2019 priority date. You are good to file the adjustment of status.
Tripty from Facebook wants to know, as a physical therapist, will we get any benefit? Absolutely. There are 4,400 green cards every year set aside from EB3 just for physical therapists. On top of that, you still qualify for the 2-year rule. So once your I-140 is approved for 2 years, you can file the adjustment of status. Then you have likely a faster processing to actually receive the green card because you get that 4,400 green cards set aside.
Gopi Krishna has this question. Should we have to be with the same company 2 years after the I-140 is approved to file the adjustment of status from Facebook? Yes, Gopi. You have to be with the same company to file an adjustment of status along with the 485J supplement. you need to be with the same company. If you are with a different company, you cannot file the adjustment of status. You have to then go through the labor and I-140 process before you file an adjustment of status.
Piyush from YouTube wants to know, what will be the order for EB1, 2, and 3? Who will be getting it first? So remember, this doesn't change anything about the preference categories or the percentage of visas that are available to each category. So EB1, 2, and 3, the whole final action date issue remains exactly the same, but everyone gets to file the 485 faster. So as far as, EB1, 2, or 3, who will get it first, EB1 still gets their percentage, EB2 gets their percentage, EB3 gets their percentage. It's the countries that changed to allow people to all receive the green card based on the same priority date within each category.
Guru Raj has this question, Emily. I need your attention on this. What if the person has moved from company A to company B? Remember, we've been telling that 2 years after the I-140 is approved. So now he has a I-140 approval with company A, he moves to company B. And remember, we told you ignore the priority date here. But does he still have to wait for company B's I-140 approval to be approved and wait for 2 years before he files?
I'm going to assume the answer is yes.
Yes.
The benefit that you get with the changing employers is your priority date will stay the same. So the timing of actually receiving the green card would stay the same, but you have to have the approval with the company who you're actually going to file the 485 with.
And then 2 years waiting period of time. That's what we are assuming, Guru Raj, how it's going to be. Hopefully there will be some changes based on how they interpret it. So yes, you may have to wait for 2 years. So there is another option. If the priority date moves forward though, and you are in your priority date is current though, yes, then you can file irrespective of the 2 years rule.
Right.
So you can take advantage of either the priority date or the 2 years I-140 approval. Either of those things you can take an advantage. It's or, it's not and.
So a lot of people who have I-140s that have been approved for more than 2 years want to know, when can I file my adjustment of status? Is this bill the law? Can I start now? No. So it's not law yet. We still have to get the House on board. They have to agree to the changes that the Senate made, and that's going to happen probably within the next week. And then it goes to the president to sign. So we still have to jump through those hurdles, but once it's signed into law, it doesn't take effect immediately. It takes effect on the first day of the second fiscal year following the effective date. I'm unclear what that means. Is it October 1st, 2021 or October 1st, 2022? So at those points is when you may be eligible to actually file your 485 if you've got an I-140 that's already been approved for 2 years at this point.
These are called technical amendments that normally happen within the committee later on though. We'll go through the things. Because this bill was supposed to be passed way earlier, I'm assuming that they're going to do some technical things where it will be effective on October 1st of 2021, which we consider as 2022 because the year starts from October 1st for 2022. That is my projection, but hope I'm right.
A couple more questions. Is it the I-140 priority date matters or the approval date that matters for the 2-year period? It's the approval date that determines how soon you can file the 485.
Unless your priority date is current.
It's the priority date that determines when you are actually eligible to receive the green card.
But assuming Emily, if the priority date is 2016, okay, and I move from company A to company B, okay, and I only got my I-140 approval 6 months ago, but my priority date has been ported to 2016, which is current. I can still file the adjustment of statuses, right?
I believe so, yes. Yeah. This just allows early filing for people whose priority date is not current. Another question was, would EB1 India get any advantage of this? So the main advantage would be that you would be able to file your adjustment of status 2 years after getting your EB1 I-140 approved. However, the timing of actually receiving the green card will still take longer, but the EB1 backlog should improve due to all of these other provisions eliminating the 7% cap.
Question is, for those people who have already filed the adjustment of status, will this benefit in any way? Yes, remember that you filed based on the filing dates, not the final action date. Because of the elimination of the per country quota to an extent, the priority dates are expected to move way forward than what they are right now. It is going to benefit all the people who filed in the last 2 months. It is going to benefit. A question from Ray V from Facebook. Does the president has the power to finally approve this bill? Is it going to be Biden or Trump? Most probably it could be Trump. Once it passes in both the houses, Trump can sign the bill. We're not expecting much trouble from Trump signing this bill, though. He hasn't opposed any of this thing. There is no increase in the number of green cards. If there is an increase in the number of green cards, I would have assumed, there is a good possibility Trump would have may veto this bill. But there is no increase in the number of green cards, so he didn't show any opposition to it.
Manoj from Facebook wants to know the H-1B extension and the EAD extension are both for 3 years, so what is the real benefit here? Well, the benefit of the 3-year EAD is you can change employers without having to file an EAD transfer. You do have to submit the supplement J in the $2,000 with that, but you don't have to file a transfer, like an H-1B transfer, in order to change jobs when you have the EAD. That's a big benefit, as well as the EAD allows for the advanced parole, so you don't need to go for H-1B stamping anymore.
A lot of people are asking personal questions about my organization affiliations with different organizations, including American Immigration Lawyers Association, which actually did not support this bill wholeheartedly. There are other organizations that we belong to, our office belongs to. It is my personal conviction that I completely support this bill. My ALA and maybe other organizations, some of the organizations that I'm associated with, they completely support these things. Some of the organizations that I belong to, for example, American Immigration Law Association, may not completely support this bill. But please only ask questions about me personally, not what my associations are, where I'm associated with. Pawan Kumar is thanking that even if the parents have passed away, the kids are going to get the green card. That's really a good relief for the parents. That's a very good relief for our parents.
Yeah, I think the good thing about this bill is, yeah, it has its problems, but they really did work to compromise to fix all of the issues. Everyone talked about having that do no harm provision so that the rest of the world was not harmed. Well, that's the 2-year rule. That helps. So everybody files at the 2-year mark. And then it was, what about the legal dreamer kids? Now they have a provision for that. What about the physical therapists and nurses? There's a provision for that. They really did work to compromise. And I think that is what allowed us to actually get to this point.
Does the employer has to sign 485J supplement after I-140 is approved for more than 2 years? This question comes from Naveen. Yes, they have to file the 485J supplement. If they don't file the 485J supplement, you cannot file an adjustment of status application for yourself.
A couple of questions again about when does this have to be signed for it to become effective. So it does have to be signed by President Trump before he leaves office. It also has to make it through the House before the House ends their session. The new Congress goes into session January 3rd, so it certainly has to be before that. And it looks like December 10th currently is the last day the House has scheduled for voting. So it could be within a week here that we get this, and then we have to get it to the President before January 20th.
How are the green cards divided among EB1, EB2, and other things? Nothing has changed, Raghav, from YouTube. It's the same. They didn't change the structure of it. The only structure they changed in this is, as far as the EB3 is concerned, they reserved 4,400 for the physical therapists and nurses. That's the exception that they made in the EB3. Now, they did make some changes with regards to how many people who are on the H-1B can be benefited. But as far as the structure of EB1, EB2, and EB3 are concerned, they didn't made any changes in it, except that 4,400 that I said to you.
Sai Krishna from YouTube has a good question. Should I switch to a company where the workforce meets the less than 50% rule if I need to file in the H-1B cap this year?
That's going to be a tough question. Depends on when the effective date of this law is.
That section had its own effective date. Let
effective
me see
date.
if I can
We
find
may
it.
have to get back to you later on this. We just are not prepared for it, for the question that you asked.
But
for.
ultimately, if it is effective, then yes, I do think that's a good idea because your employer won't be able to file for you if it's effective.
Is there a possibility it can be rejected? Always possibility is there, but we are not expecting President Trump while he's leaving the office. I don't think so. He will just he will use his veto power on this one. When is it scheduled to go to voting? We're expecting it before December 8th or December 9th?
Before, I think the 10th.
10th.
But it's not scheduled yet. I have not seen anything about a specific date that the House is planning to take this up. I'm sure they'll have to add it to their calendar.
Yeah, first I think so. It's going to go to the committee. Once it passes through the committee, we're not expecting any problem. So once it goes to the House committee, passes through, it's a very technical amendment in the House, so they will just pass it on in like 5 to 10 minutes. That is my expected, and the way it passes in the House is quite different than that of Senate though. House requires only simple majority. It doesn't require a 60% rule, there's no objection rule, so it's fairly more simpler to pass a bill in the House as compared to the Senate. So good possibility that this should go through, even though there's a time deadline, we are not expecting much problem with it. You may want to check on Joe Lofgren's office with regards to what the plan is. She may be able to guide more. Practically, I mean, she is the guidance for all this bill in the House. You may check on her blog to see if any updates from her on that.
Murtaza from Facebook wants to know, does this bill benefit those who are starting to file the I-140 now? Yes, it does, because remember, once this bill is effective, and actually takes effect, when your I-140 has been approved for 2 years, you can file the adjustment of status even if your priority date is in 2020.
Will the employers will be ready to file the sign the 485J supplement? We have gone through a lot of times when the priority date has moved. I have dealt with so many employers. Out of all hundreds and thousands of employers, I would say that there is only 1 or 2 employers who did not file the 485. They did not support the 485. And then guess what happened with those employers? They went out of business in 3 months after they didn't sign the 485. Well, I mean, you've been waiting for such a long time, and if they don't sign, you're going to tell every other employee they'll go out of business if they don't sign. And they know that. So it's very rarely, out of thousands and thousands of employers, I do only 1 or 2. Maybe my clients are very good. I mean, if they don't sign, practically, we don't even represent them next time, and we just tell them, you did wrong things to your employee, you will do with us too. And the company will go out of business pretty soon. We know that.
Business and Money from YouTube wants to know, what happens if Trump doesn't sign it? Couldn't Biden act on it? Unfortunately, no. It is dead if it's not signed by the president before the end of this congressional session. So basically, everything starts over, which is exactly what's been happening for at least the last 10 years. This is not a new bill. We've been, talking about this bill for years and years, and every year it passes the House and then it dies in the Senate. Passes the House, dies in the Senate. This time, it finally passed the Senate. So I think that we're likely to get this through before Trump leaves office.
Kumar has this question. Hey, if I get a 485 EAD, can I change the job before the priority date becomes current? Good question. Yes, you can. However, there is only one condition, that is that you must wait for at least 6 months after your 485 has been filed. Not after your EAD is received. It's after your 485 has been filed. You have to wait for 180 days. Then you can change. The new employer has to sign a new 485J supplement.
A lot of people are asking how much time will be reduced in receiving the green card. That's just really impossible to know because of all these different reservations, and the transition period is a 10-year transition period. So unfortunately, I think it's too soon for us to be able to give specifics on that, but hopefully we'll be able to dig into the numbers of how many people are in the pipeline, and then where the dates might move based on these different percentages that are carved out over the years.
A lot of people will ask questions with regards to, and historically they've been asking questions, can you predict the priority dates? And guess what? We made so many different theories. I bought 10,000 marbles to try to explain. I couldn't explain how the priority date moves because of the structure it is. Now with this new law, oh my goodness, 15, 20 extra things are added to it. It's going to be very, very tough for us to estimate how the priority date moves. They need to have some algorithms right now to determine how to move the priority dates. But one thing is good for you is that once the I-140 has been approved, 2 years, you got it right.
Maybe we should get some of our high-skilled data scientists to develop something that can calculate when the priority date will be current.
The question, since the bill has been passed with a 2/3 majority, does the president has the veto power? Here is the problem, Rajendra. Even if it's passed with the 2/3 majority, the president can veto the bill. It has to go back to the Congress and then has to get passed again. That's a problem with the veto power if the president uses it, though. Will the advance parole be also given for a 3-year period just like EAD? This is a question from Nisha. Yeah, that looks to be a possibility. I mean, normally they have included both the things together, hopefully so. The advance parole also will be issued for 3 years. I mean, 3 years EADs, believe me, is a boon. I mean, that is so good. I hope, Nisha, that I'm expecting that the I-131 also will be given to for a 3-year period.
Couple questions about kids who have already aged out and if there's any benefit there. Unfortunately, no, because the bill hasn't actually taken effect yet. It's only going to help those that would have had an I-140 approved for 2 years at the time when the kid is still under 21, based on the age subtracting the time the I-140 was pending.
Please watch the immigrationgirl.com. I want you to log in and subscribe. If there is any updates on this bill, we will update it, and we want you to contact the congressman. We're expecting some press statements given by Jo Lofgren, who is the congresswoman from California. Based on that, we're going to act how she is going to tell us to do it, because she is the captain of this, and we're going to relay that information to you guys. And also we'll look into Senator Lee from Utah to see what he will say. These are the people who will direct us, and we want you to be on top of the things if you want this one to be effective. This game so far, we won so many battles, but we have not won the war yet. To win the war, we need to get this bill going through the House, and if there is any amendments, it has to go through the Senate again and get it signed by the president. And we have less than 10 days to get through less than 15 days to get the Congress and Senate again if needed, and then probably less time to get through to the president. Please don't relax right now. This is not the time to relax.
All right. Well, I think we may have to log off for today, so I have some things to get to. But thank you so much for joining, and we will definitely be talking about this on Tuesday, I'm sure, in our next live.
Yes, don't forget our Tuesday 5 p.m. Central Time live. Thank you, guys.